I'm happy to be with you. I look around and see some real champions for clean air, and I think don't need to take any time to make the case for the importance of clean air with this group. Really need to be focusing on solutions, ways that we collectively can continue to make progress in cleaning the air in Utah. There has been good progress, but certainly more needs to be done. The governor has identified air quality as one of his top 2 or 3 priorities. And it's reflected in budget, policy, things that he's doing with state agencies. One of the things that he did a little over a year ago was create a Clean Air Action Team. This is a group of experts in air quality from across the spectrum, different viewpoints, different backgrounds, all coming together to review literally hundreds of potential strategies, find those that are the most viable and effective. They've made a number of, I think, very strong recommendations. Right at the top of those recommendations was the transition to Tier 3 cars and fuels in Utah. In fact, the governor took that to heart, and in his State of the State earlier this year mentioned this transition to Tier 3 as a priority. Now, if you look at the contributors to our air pollution problems, during the winter months, vehicles contribute just under 50%, about 48%. About 39% is area sources, our homes, our buildings, our small businesses, etc. And about 13% right now is industry. So any strategy to improve our air quality certainly has to address vehicles, mobile sources, as part of that. Our strategy is addressing all of those areas, area sources, industry, etc. What is Tier 3? I think many of you are probably familiar with it, but let me give you a little background. Last April, a new federal rule came out, known as Tier 3, building on, as you would expect, Tier 1 and Tier 2, which are new standards for vehicles and fuels. Now, the fuels and the vehicles go together in collaboration, in conjunction. They work better to create some pretty significant air quality benefits. EPA had indicated that the 7 counties that would benefit most from Tier 3 are all in northern Utah. And the Division of Air Quality, as they've been reviewing, again, hundreds of strategies, have suggested that Tier 3, while not a full solution and not a silver bullet, is among the most effective strategies available to us. What the rule says, essentially, is that starting with model year 2017, we're going to bring in cleaner vehicles across the nation. This roughly means that California standard vehicles will now be required throughout the country. Those will be phased in over a period of time through the mid-2020s. The fuel side of the rule is that beginning in 2017, we'll start transitioning to a cleaner fuel. Right now, the standard at Tier 2 is that they're allowed an average of 30 parts per million sulfur in fuel. The near Tier 3 standard will drop that to 10 parts per million on average. The value of that is that if you've got less sulfur in the fuel, it allows the catalytic converters in the vehicles to function much better. So again, together, they create some pretty significant benefits. We would see the benefits of the cleaner fuel in any car on the road today on day one. Together, the projection is that when fully implemented, we could see a reduction of almost 80% in vehicle emissions. Pretty significant. And that's probably going to be through now until about 2030. So it's phased in over time. Under this fuel rule, it says that large refiners have to meet the standard by 2017. Smaller refiners, which include all of those in Utah and most of those selling into Utah, have until 2020 to meet that standard. There's a provision in the rule that allows for averaging. So a large nationwide refiner could make significant reductions at a facility elsewhere and not make the reductions here. So that's the concern that many have. Despite the fact that this Tier 3 rule could make a pretty significant difference here in Utah, there's a chance that we might not get the full benefits of that. So the question is, what can you do about it? How do we ensure that we get those benefits? Well, our hands are tied. Under federal law, we can't impose new fuel standards. So we live with the rule that has been provided from EPA. But there are some things we can do. And we've been working very closely with the refiners here in Utah and some outside of the state that sell into Utah. The governor's met one-on-one with the top executives from those refineries, outlined our air quality challenges, and they know them well. These are corporate citizens that live here, that have families here, that understand our challenges, want to be part of the solution. And in fact, the refineries have been contributing a lot. They're kind of a target, but over about the last 6 or 7 years, collectively spent about $1 billion on cleaner fuels and on new controls of facilities. The new requirements that have been put in place on industry as part of the state implementation plan require additional reductions, and that's not cheap. Now, Tier 3 requires additional changes in facilities. Again, not an inexpensive prospect. So a lot is being asked of these corporate citizens. And yet, if we're going to address our air quality challenges, this is a step that really has to be taken. And let me just say that the response from the refineries has been very, very good. They've said, we understand the problem. We are actively looking at all engineering options to see how quickly we can bring those fuels into Utah. So the process is well underway, and we appreciate that conversation. I've also been meeting with the car dealers. And one of the things that we've learned is that these Tier 3 type cars are available today. You can go get one today. They're being sold regularly in about 11 states around the country, and the dealers can order these cars. So one of the things that we're trying to do is encourage people that if they're going to buy a new car in the near future, they go and they look at the smog rating. And the smog rating is like the miles per gallon rating. And if you get a smog rating of 8 or above, it's essentially equivalent to Tier 3. So if you figure a car is going to be on the road for, 11, 12, 13 years, if we can get people to purchase those earlier, we get a benefit over a longer period of time. So we're excited about the prospects. There are good things happening. Again, no silver bullets, but Tier 3 is a promising strategy to help us move forward. Thank you.